ladies and gentlemen, I have to admit that this presentation will be, oh yeah, I got comments as well, thank you. So I have to admit that this presentation will be quite a rally. So fasten your seatbelts and let's move on. My name is Nikolai Kornushev, and I'm the program manager in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications for Estonia. And today we'll be talking about Burokratt and about how the digital services should work in the age of AI. So I will share my screen now. Wait a second, click here, click there, and here you go. I hope that you can see my screen as well. So I'd like to start with some question, and that question is, how often do you think about public and governmental services in general? So like, imagine yourself sitting in the kitchen with a glass of scotch, thinking about public services. Not really, right? No. And that's the point. Basically, governmental services are not so sexy that you would like to give them a lot of thought. Society wish is exactly the opposite. Most respondents want to see seamless, almost invisible governmental services and to have needed information immediately to hand. And that is correct how it should be. In today's reality, when we have reached such a level of technology, that wish is fair enough, right? So who wants to spend time searching for which agencies to ask from or experience the dreaded bureaucratic red tape? I take that even further. Within certain services, why should you contact the government at all? If you are entitled to have some extra bonuses or a pension, why on a God's green earth you need to ask for it? We in Estonia do not understand that, and we are heading towards the solutions and technologies to provide services that society expects to have. One of such solutions, and today's subject of presentation, is the Burokratt. And let's now see a little teaser into Burokratt and then deep dive and discover what are we building, why and how. I'll show you now a little video which will be interesting for you as well.
Bürokratt. I'm not sure what there is to talk about, really. What's so special about it anyway? All right. Burokratt is merely the official AI-based virtual assistant of Estonia. Honestly, it doesn't do anything that remarkable. Actually, it mostly does completely mundane and sometimes even boring stuff, such as applying for a permit, renewing your identification, or reporting lost documents, applying for family benefits, or borrowing a book for school, standing up for consumer rights, dealing with a fender bender, notifying of vaccinations, identifying mushrooms, and 1,000 other boring things. Now that you've listened to all this, you're probably wondering what you will do with all the free time on your hands. Well, who would know? Who would know?
It's the perfect weather for a day at the beach. I'd recommend taking the electric scooter and hopping on a bus.
With the help of Estonia's virtual assistant Burokratt, you won't lose any more time solving everyday problems. Pick your preferred device to interact with Burokratt and get everything done through one communication channel.
How can I help you?
So, the Burokratt in a nutshell is a vision of how public services should digitally work in the age of AI. Burokratt is not simply an IT development project to create an Estonian governmental virtual assistant. Instead, the concept of Burokratt would allow people to get their stuff done from any device and any majority used virtual assistants in the future. Burokratt is an interoperable network of AI applications, which would work from the user's perspective as a single united channel for accessing public, direct, and informational services. Alternatively, you can call Burokratt an ecosystem of interoperable AI applications to provide access to digital public services. What is the problem that Burokratt is about to resolve is that inconvenience within accessing the public services. People don't know which agencies to contact, and that problem may seem to be minor, but if you dig into the numbers, you'll find thousands of requests which are landing on different agencies' desks, where agency specialists must filter and redirect these requests to the right place for the customer to be served. That in turn means hundreds and thousands of hours which specialists are spending on this pointless routine. On the other hand, there is a customer who is waiting for answers for hours, days, weeks, or even months. Sometimes the customer does not get the answer at all, and this is unacceptable. Today, we have all the technical solutions to resolve the aforementioned problems. The development of AI made it possible, and we in Estonia want to use the technical advantage to make digital public services radically easier to use and conveniently accessible to people. The current situation in Estonia does support our vision. We have sufficient internet coverage. It is used up to 90% of households. Up to 98% of population use mobile services, so there are no issues with accessibility at all. But enough about our visions, and let's move on to the practical assignments and deeds which we have done and which we are about to do. So today we are in the final stage of Burokratt development and implementation. We have developed the MVP, which consists of multiple interfaces and components. Our main goal with MVP was to develop the conversational chatbot and implement it in the governmental agencies. All the MVP development was split into the 3 phases. During the first phase, the manual solution was delivered, meaning that we got the user and admin interfaces. These interfaces were meant for one-on-one conversations between the customer and agency specialists. And this step is really important because we need to have some fallback if chatbot can't answer the question. And the grand idea is to understand the topics and frequently asked questions. So today we are storing any single conversation and passing all that knowledge to the chatbot models, so the chatbot in the nearest future can answer these questions on its own. The second phase is actually an ongoing one, meaning that the chatbot models as such are already exist. But today we are working on the training of these models. As I already said, we are using actual data from incoming requests as well as the historical data to train the models. And the last one, third place, is about analytics. All the data we are collecting has an extra big value for product owners and businesses. This data would allow product owners to have a good overview of their products and services and potentially lead to great improvements. Worth to mention that all the non-confidential data is planned to be exposed as open data in Estonian Open Data Gateway, so that the businesses can also use this data in order to improve their services. During the MVP development, we are implementing the solution in 3 authorities. It is Police and Border Control, Consumer Protection and Technical Regulatory Authority, where Burokratt is already implemented, and the National Library. Worth to mention that we have up to 15 agencies in queue where Burokratt will be implemented right after the finalization of MVP. What is the magic of Burokratt is that it doesn't really matter to which authority chatbot you turn. You can ask from police chatbot questions about your ID and get all the necessary answers. Then you can immediately switch on total different topic. For example, you can ask from same chatbot a question about a book from the National Library, or ask some question about consumer protection. Burokratt will answer all the questions regardless of entry point. Simple as that. I will further explain the flow and how the questions are being ping-ponged between the authorities. But now let's move on to the further development plans. From a further development point of view, our main objectives are, of course, further onboarding. We need to grow our network, add more and more authorities into our program to be able to answer all kinds of questions which customers have. No less important are speech-enabled services, so that you could speak with Burokratt rather than just text it. That will increase the accessibility from all perspectives, for those who want to have the answers more efficiently, or for visually impaired customers, or those with other health challenges. Not less important are the personal services. our aim is not just to give the answers on questions and have just a conversation. We would like to initialize the processes. So, for example, if you have a question, how do I change my ID? We will not just answer that you have to go to police, but we will offer you to initialize the whole process of ID renewal. Or say you want to take out a book. We can tell you that, yes, National Library has a book you want to borrow, but we want to give, again, that opportunity to begin the borrowing process. So we will say it, Burokratt, I want to have this particular book of Shakespeare as my home address, and this will happen. To increase the accessibility and ease of use even more, we are looking towards the government mobile applications development and discussing with private sector colleagues the possibility to add Burokratt to alternative channels, such as Cortana, Siri, Telegram, WhatsApp, Messenger, etc. And finally, we are open to any kinds of cooperation with international partners from both public and private sectors, and these from business and technical or development perspectives. So I promised to provide a few details about the technical solution and about how the flow would work with the Burokratt. So on this slide, you can see an extra high-level architectural picture. Flow starts from the upper level, which is the UI level, where today we have two interfaces, the client chat UI, which can be used in mobile and PC, and the admin chat UI, where authority specialists can manually answer the questions. In the nearest future, as I said previously, we will integrate the alternative channels, such as phone channel or other internet channels. After the upper level, you'll see the events orchestrator, and that's a really important component of Burokratt. Events orchestrator is basically a router, and it routes all the incoming requests to the necessary parts of Burokratt. Now, all the parts which you see below the events orchestrator are standalone modules. You can switch to, for example, only global cache and just ignore all other components. You can activate the chatbots in different authorities. All possibilities are available. You can choose what your version looks like as per your requirements. And what is important, you can't see used technologies on this slide. And those weren't added because we are building Burokratt totally technology agnostic. This means that if today we are using Rasa and Elasticsearch, then tomorrow we or you can easily change these technologies without any problems. So recently, for example, we changed Elasticsearch to another technology due to known reasons. So now I will explain the modules below events orchestrator. On the left-hand side, you can see the global cache. And global cache is the component which stores all the global answers to questions like, what is the weather like in Tallinn, in Scotland, or who is the current United States president? All these generic questions are stored in global cache, since they don't have any connections with specific authorities, and these questions are clearly independent and standalone. Global cache in Estonia is connected to our article warehouse, and article warehouse is such a place where all the centralized knowledge being stored. For example, COVID information, road restrictions or road conditions, and etc. On the right-hand side, you'll see the decision engine, and this decides which agency should answer the requests or what components should be activated in response to a specific request. Distributed message room is a very important component which is below decision engine, and that component basically connects all the chatbots together. So on the slide, you see 3 chatbots. As you can see, all of the chatbots are the separate instances, meaning that all knowledge is stored separately. And this in turn means that you can provide the best data protection, since all the knowledge being stored in your premises. It can be some cloud premises or on-prem solutions. If, for example, you're asking a question to the police and providing some personal data to the police for that purpose, these answers will be stored with the police instance. And if next you will ask some question about the library, that request will be automatically forwarded to the library without forwarding the previous messages. What I want to stress here is that we don't have that centralized database where we are storing all the information which would be easily vulnerable. Instead, we do federated learning and have separated instances for any authority chatbot. The benefit of this is that if any chatbot were damaged or DDoSed, that particular chatbot will not cause major failure for Burokratt. So that is the high-level overview of architecture. And I should also mention that all the technical descriptions of these components are available on our GitHub. And all the components I've mentioned are developed as open source solutions. So you can implement them in your authority or in your business right away using the MIT license. Maybe the last thing for today is the base platform developments. And the main activities here are the improvement and further development of distributed message rooms, so that the forwarding of messages will be more efficient. We are improving the classification model, meaning that the incoming requests will be better classified and the right authority will be found and maximally correct answer given as a result. We're working on the machine learning infrastructure and heading towards the integrations. And that is more about the article warehouse, alternative communication channels, and personal services. Next year, we are planning to add biometric identification for easier identification process, which is pretty necessary, actually. And finally, what is really interesting about our development is that we are not talking about only public services. We want to put together all the public and necessary private services so that the Burokratt will answer all different questions which our citizens and customers have. So that's it from my side by now. And maybe only one thing which I missed is, but I have mentioned it earlier, but I'll say it again. We are pleased to collaborate on different topics in order to deliver even better solutions. So this is the heads up for you. Reach out in case of questions, or if you already have some cool ideas to spin. Let's talk, let's discuss, and let's find the common ways how we can proceed. You can find more information about Burokratt on our web, which is written on a slide you see on screen, or you can directly write me on my email or connect with me via LinkedIn. Thank you very much. And I was supposed to take some questions, but I see that I'm accidentally run out of time. So I'll take all the questions offline and will reach all of you guys during today. And for now, have a great and inspiring day at the European Chatbot Summit, and take care. See you. Goodbye.